Welcome to the Raging Takes podcast with your hosts, Brian Dixon, Kai Zabo, and Dylan Peters.
What's up, you turkeys? Welcome to episode 123 of the Raging Takes podcast. Today is Saturday, November 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Brian Dixon, joined as always by my co-host, by the Commissioner Zappo, and a dead corpse. What's up, Dylan? You're waking up Bernie's it a little bit.
Dude, dead corpse is like an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. It totally is.
Yeah, he's right.
I'm good, dude. I'm feeling a little low energy today. I gotta hide my eyes. But we're gonna get my neck hurts. We're gonna get over it.
You're like that meme, the old meme where like the girl in the award ceremony with the hoodie on, and she's just like leaning back with the sunglasses on, and she's just got like the double peace sign up. You got that strong vibe going on here. I don't know if that hoodie's gonna fit over here. Okay.
Oh, looks like it is.
Yeah, sure. There we go. All right, on today's show, we're going to go over the Thursday night football game between the Eagles and the Commanders. We have a Week 11 preview for you, and we'll give you our saviors and stinkers of the week. We're going to start, as always, with the raging question of the day. It involves the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have gone back to Anthony Richardson as their starting quarterback after only 2 games of the Joe Flacco experience. Is this the correct move, boys? What are the Colts doing here?
I don't think it's correct.
No? How come?
I don't, because honestly, that 2-game sample size you got of Joe Flacco, those were against 2 really tough defenses. And then it's like, it's like the other times that he's played this season, it was a really good product. So why not trust it again?
I don't know, man. It seems like they don't know what they're doing out there. They're flubbing it up, dude. But honestly, if there's a team to start, I guess Anthony Richardson against, it's the reeling New York New York Jets. I mean, they're 4-6. They've kind of went on a slide. So
3-7. Or are you talking about the Colts?
The Colts, yeah, they're 4-6. They've had 2-game losing streak. It doesn't necessarily look good for them. So why not see the future? But I don't agree with it. I would ride with Flacco. What was the point of benching Richardson in the first place if you're not going to ride with Flacco for a little bit?
That's how I am too. It's like, what was even the point of doing that? Especially if you're going to bench him after the Bills and Vikings games. Like those are two of the best teams in the league. So it's like you threw him out there for unless they didn't want Anthony Richardson to play against those 2 teams, and then the whole plan the entire time. I don't think that's the case. So this kind of smells to me as if like owner or GM interference a little bit, where they threw Flacco out there. Flacco looked like shit, and then maybe Irsay or Chris Ballard went into Steichen's office. It was like, yeah, let's get the kid out there. Let's see what the kid's got. Like, enough of this shit. So I still think that if you want to win and make the playoffs this year, Flacco's the move, and you have to stick with him and just see if he still has anything left. So I don't know if the Bills and the Vikings games are indicative of Flacco still having it or not. So I personally wouldn't have gone back to him yet. Not saying I wouldn't have gone back to Anthony Richardson eventually. They literally just said like last week that Flacco was the starter the rest of the season, and now this. So that's why I feel like it's my Irsay senses are tingling a little bit here.
I mean, it kind of feels like, would you guys say like this is them like throwing in the towel, or is this like still trying to make the playoffs by thinking Richardson's the right move?
I think this is them just trying to develop Richardson by giving him playing time, which isn't like wrong necessarily, but if your goal was to try to make the playoffs, I still do think Flacco gives you the better chance. If you don't care about that, then yeah, fuck it. Yeah, definitely go back to Anthony Richardson, because you never know. Maybe he figures it out at some point this year and you make a little run. I don't think that's going to happen, but they're only 2 games back of the division right now, so it's still possible.
They're 2 games back in the division, but I believe they've played their 0-1, 0-2. They've played like a majority of their division games already. So they're going to have to independently beat the Lions, the Broncos, the Titans, maybe. Those combinations of teams to be able to make it to the playoffs.
Schedule game?
No. They got swept by the Texans.
They have 2 more division games left. They have the Titans and the Jaguars.
it's a possible that they get swept by the Jags and they get swept by the Texans. That's 0-4 in the division. I don't think they have a chance of making the playoffs. But if they did, it was with Joe Flacco.
Dude, they have winnable games coming up. Like, honestly, with Flacco, I think they still could make the playoffs. Honestly, the only really truly tough game I think they have left is the Lions, which is next week. Like, they have the Broncos as well, but the Broncos aren't on the Lions level like that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if Flacco found a way to beat the Broncos. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the flip flopping back and forth. I think if you make a decision like that, you keep that shit for at least like a month and a half. I don't think Flacco's been so bad against two really good defense. Like, he has been bad, but he hasn't been so atrocious against two really good defenses to make this like crazy decision again. So I don't really know what the Colts are doing here personally.
Yeah, I mean, not only that though, too. I mean, when you're constantly switching the quarterbacks, you're switching up that offensive philosophy, that offensive scheme up way too often. The players can't get set in a set motion.
Two just completely opposite playing styles too for the rest of the team to get involved with. This also, by the way, hurts all of the receivers, specifically like Josh Downs. Really, really hurts them. Adonai Mitchell, I was saying good things about last week in the waiver wire episode. Probably not going to be useful anymore. Maybe Alec Pierce still has like a big play every once in a while, but yeah, this if you're like a Josh Downs owner, this really hurts. So I don't know. I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson, but I don't know if I believe in him to bounce back at all this year. I'm hoping that he bounces back next year.
Is he fully healthy coming into this game?
I mean, I would assume so. If he wasn't, why would you go back to him? You would stick with Flacco, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, well, my logic is like, he's been having that lingering shoulder issue from last season playing into this year. And, my intention was like, they would have sat him the rest of the year to let him get fully healthy and just come back 100% next season,
Yeah, for me, he's played up to this point. This is his second season. We're in the tail end. We're going into the later weeks of this season. He's played 10 games in his career. He missed almost all of last year. He's ended up missing 4 games this year. So it's just like, are we fucking up his development by starting Joe Flacco? Are we saving his development? Are we wasting his rookie contract by doing all this bullshit? All of it. Yeah, you're doing all of it. He still has more interceptions than touchdowns. He still shows that he's not even a 60% passer. He still shows that he cannot read the defense, and the coaching staff has also shown that they don't know how to utilize his strengths and stay away from his weaknesses. So to me, this is the Colts throwing in the towel. Oh, what's going on?
I agree.
Do you want to make the playoffs, or do you want to develop your quarterback? They're choosing to develop their quarterback. My only question is, what happens when he gets tired?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I thought that played into a little bit of his benching beforehand, and I don't know if 2 weeks is enough to like get over that too. I'm sure there are people in the locker room, teammates, that did not like that for sure. Yeah. It's a bad look for a quarterback. Yeah, I don't know.
Me either.
All right. Let's get to Thursday Night Football. Eagles 26, Commanders 18. The score, the game really wasn't that close. Hurts and Daniels, both kind of mid for fantasy. I think Hurts had about like 17-ish points. Daniels had 14. Hurts was 18 for 28, 221, and then 39 rushing yards and a tush-push touchdown. Jaden Daniels was 22 of 32 for 191 yards, had a garbage time touchdown to Zach Ertz and an interception. Saquon, though, went nuclear. 26 for 146 on the ground. He also had 2 touchdowns, and then he caught two catches for 52 yards through the air. A.J. Brown and Goddard were the leading receivers. Brown was 5 for 65, and Goddard was 5 for 61. And then Zach, is it Bond or Bound?
Bond, I think, yeah.
Zach Bond, 14 tackles. This kid is really good, dude. Yeah. I'm really impressed by him.
He flies over the field for sure, all over the field.
He has a nose for the ball. I like him a lot. The Eagles, he was not on your team last season, correct? I think he came from the Saints.
No, he wasn't. Yeah, he came from the Saints, and ironically, I think he's a big reason why we let go of Devin White, because he showed out so much.
And that was a great move, apparently, because this kid is really good. Honestly, the Eagles defense has made a complete turnaround. Like they added so much talent this offseason. Quinyon Mitchell has been amazing.
Yeah.
This kid's amazing. Fucking Cooper DeJean's pretty good. Before we move on to the Commanders, go ahead and talk about the Eagles, Kai, and what you saw on Thursday Night Football.
Well, I mean, of course, we all saw it was a very slow first half. Sorry. Yeah. Don't like that still. I know I've been hammering about it all season on this podcast. You know, we have to start faster, especially once we get to the postseason. We can't be pulling that kind of shit in the postseason, but we are one of the highest scoring fourth quarter teams in the league right now. So that is a good thing. You know, it's like we score when we need to, but I just want to see a full, complete game. But man, since the bye, this team has made a complete turnaround from the offense to the defense. You know, they've got it figured out, and you know, we're winning all these games, and I'm very happy about it.
The Eagles have a 1.5 lead now in the NFC East. Do you feel comfortable with that lead? Are you still like a little worried about the Commanders catching up? Obviously, Dallas and New York are just non-factors completely, but there's still a game coming up with the Commanders later on in the year. I think they play either in week 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. Are you still worried about them at all, or do you think that the Eagles got this now?
I kind of think the Eagles will lock it up, but I will not count the Commanders from getting the wild card. I think that I actually will confidently say I think the Commanders will get the wild card.
2-game losing streak right now for the Commanders, but not two close losses, because I wouldn't consider this a close loss. It was close in score, but the Eagles definitely outclassed them. Last week was a close loss to the Steelers. I think that the Commanders are proving that they can hang with the big dogs, but they're just not quite the big dog yet.
Yeah, I mean they're not losing to bad teams though either. You know, that's what they're only losing to good teams, so that's a good promising sign.
They have 4 losses. It was the Steelers, the Ravens, the Eagles, and who's the fourth one? Do you remember? Who did they lose to? Let me look it up. Try to see if you can dig deep and remember.
They should have lost to the Bears.
But they didn't.
They lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Bucks.
The Bucks.
Yeah, so good teams, all good teams.
Yeah, they got creamed by the Bucks, but that was opening night or opening day. So I mean, can't really fault them for that, I guess, with a rookie quarterback. For the Commanders, Brian Robinson Jr. was a popular sit candidate this week. Saw a lot of people on Twitter suggesting to sit him. I have him in 3 leagues, and due to buys and injuries, I had to play him in every single fucking league I had him in. I didn't want to, but I had to. And it turned out okay. 16 for 63 and a touchdown. He got a touchdown on the first or second drive for the Commanders. So it worked out almost immediately. So I was pretty happy about that. Eckler was the leading receiver. I mean, Jaden Daniels was just constantly dumping it off to him. 8 for 89 on the day for Austin Eckler. And then Zach Ertz scores the garbage time octopus. Someone put in here. If you don't know what an octopus is, it's when a player scores a touchdown and a 2-point conversion on the same drive.
Is that what they really call it?
Yes, that is what Scott Hansen calls it.
Huh, never heard that.
NFL Red Zone. You don't know ball, unfortunately. I'm sorry to call you out live on the podcast.
I don't really care. And the other thing is, it's stupid. It's dumb. That's why I said
It's octopus because it's eight points. That's why it's an octopus.
I know numbers. I know what an octopus stands for.
Have 8 legs.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz 6 for 47 and a touchdown kind of saved his day. Honestly, I thought Zach Ertz kind of sucked until the last drive. He is washed, man. He dropped so many balls. If I'm the Commanders, I'm getting Ben Sinnott out there and seeing what he has. I feel like he hardly ever sees the field. Every time I watch the Commanders, I never see that kid out there. I would like to see him out there more often than just Zach Ertz. I don't think Zach Ertz is so much of a difference maker that you have to keep him on the field constantly, personally. Terry McLaurin, a victim of Guantanamo Bay, 1 for 10. He was covered by Quinyon Mitchell most of the game. And like I said, the Eagles now lead the NFC East by 1.5 games. I'm not too worried about the Commanders. This was a really good defense. The Commanders did not match up well against them at all. It's a tough territory to play into, Philadelphia. It's a little bit of a brutal city to play in, especially Jaden Daniels' first time ever playing against the Eagles in Philadelphia. I'm with you, Kai. I still think the Commanders get a wild card spot for sure. I think the Eagles will probably win the NFC East, but don't count them out yet. It's a 1.5, 2-game lead is not a lot. There's still a lot of games to be played here.
Yeah.
All right, saviors and stinkers time. Oh, did you have something to say?
I don't think Washington is necessarily guaranteed a wild card spot, dude.
No, they're not. But I do think that they'll make it.
They're competing with Minnesota, Green Bay, San Francisco,
Rams, Tampa.
Tampa. But they have a good lead on them. But I don't know, dude. It's one of these teams is going to get left out.
So there's only 3 wild card spots, which means at least one of Washington, Minnesota, Green Bay, and San Francisco are getting left out. Yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely not a guarantee. I agree with you, but I do think Washington still makes it. Washington's going to have a soft schedule. They have a third place schedule. Were they third place last year in the division or 4? Well, they're the number 2 overall pick, right? So they're probably last place actually.
Last place.
So Washington is going to have probably, without looking at their schedule, probably going to have an easier schedule than like the Packers will. So we'll see. And the Niners too, specifically. All right, saviors and stinkers time. First up for First up for me. Savior number 1, Audric Estime. Going up against the Falcons. The Falcons are like middle of the pack, so it's not like they're like a bad run defense necessarily or anything like that. But the way that the Broncos coaches have been talking, they've been talking for weeks how they want to get him more involved. And then finally last week they showed it. He had 14 carries. And then this week they say they want to get him even more involved. So I'm choosing to trust them. Maybe they're lying. Maybe game script won't go exactly the way that they want to. But I think the Broncos have a good enough defense that they can kind of slow down the Falcons passing offense and Bijan Robinson too. Kind of get the Broncos offense, keep them in the game. I don't think the Broncos are going to win this game, honestly. I think the Falcons will. But I do think Audric Estime is going to get like 20-ish touches, and I think that he'll do something with it. So I'm going to say I think he touches the ball 20 times. I think he scores a touchdown in this game, Audric Estime.
All right. For my first savior of the week, I'm going with Juwan Jennings. So I'm pretty hyper-focused on this 49ers offensive matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. It's a very good matchup. Seattle ranks in the bottom top 10 for yards allowed to wide receivers. Juwan Jennings has shown that he is the wide receiver 1 now in San Francisco. He's kind of looking like what they kind of hoped Ayuk would turn out to be. And I just think he has such a fantastic matchup this week, especially with CMC back in the offense. This offense is humming. They do great against Seattle. Give me Juwan Jennings.
I like that. He could be the wide receiver 1. I like that. My first savior of the week, I'm going to go with a guy who is playing my team, Josh Jacobs. I know it's like a pretty safe savior, but I will preface that with this. I think this could be his best game this season so far. Seeing how Chicago's defensive strengths are through the passing game, Jordan Love has looked a little shaky. That offensive line in Green Bay is not necessarily giving him the cleanest pockets. I would look for Josh Jacobs to kind of control this game. We know Chicago's offense doesn't provide a lot of firepower. You're not going to have to score a ton of points to beat them. So what's the best thing to do is just beat their defensive line, who's struggling to death. Let your running back eat and get out of Chicago with the win. I think that's what Green Bay will do. And I think Josh Jacobs will be the beneficiary of that. I look for him to score 2 touchdowns this week.
I completely agree with you. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have his best game as a Packer this week. Honestly, I think that's a great call. And also, not that this was going to do anything towards that, because I still think even if this guy does play, Josh Jacobs would have balled out. But Marshawn Lloyd was looking like he was going to come off of IR, but now he woke up with appendicitis yesterday. Oof. So now the Packers are looking at. So they're talking to the NFL to see if they can put him back on IR or because his practice window has already been opened, but this is like a freak accident. So I don't know if the NFL is going to let them, pull some strings or whatnot, but looks like Marshawn Lloyd probably will not play this week and might not play for a while again. So that helps Josh Jacobs' production. I know Emmanuel Wilson's still there, but still. Savior number 2 for me, Will Dissly. I guess I'm just the tight end guy, dude. I always go for the tight end saviors. Cincinnati's 30th in the league against tight ends when it comes to fantasy points. Will Dissly has been seeing a lot of targets from Justin Herbert over the last month or so. His target share last week, I think, was about 26%, if I remember correctly. I should have wrote that down. I like the matchup a lot. It's on Sunday Night Football. I think Justin Herbert's going to be looking his way. I'm going to say Will Dissly has at least 5 catches and a touchdown in this game against the Bengals.
All right. So for my second savior of the week, I am going with Brock Purdy. So I'm doubling down on the 49ers for my saviors. So Purdy has averaged 22.8 fantasy points per game in his last 4 contests. And against the 49ers, he has thrown 6 touchdown passes over his last 2 games against them. And he has recorded multiple touchdown passes in 4 out of 5 career games against the Seahawks. CMC's back in this offense now. We saw how Brock Purdy looked with Christian McCaffrey just being in the offense. I love the matchup. Give me Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy's been very good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good for fantasy.
It's crazy. It's crazy that the Niners, the boys, the gang's all back together except for Ayuk. Kind of just like how it was in the preseason. Wow. My second savior of this week is Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, Cleveland Browns. Not because of he's so good, it's because of who's throwing to him. Last 3 games, Cedric Tillman has had 32 targets. Hey, and this is a revenge game for Jameis Winston. The Saints treated him like utter garbage, I think, and he's coming into town with nothing to lose. He's going to tear up New Orleans, dude. He's going to make it a personal battle. And you know what? You got to have the ultimate faith.
Unwavering belief.
Unwavering belief in God, bro. And that's what Jameis Winston's going to have.
The thing is, though, Jameis isn't a guy that would take revenge on somebody. I bet he loves everybody in the Saints organization. Dennis Allen is the one specifically where it's what the fuck are you doing? And that dude's long gone. So I don't know if this is a revenge game.
No, not revenge. Just he probably wants New Orleans to see what they could have had.
Okay.
You know? He's got a good vibe, and I think Cedric Tillman's his favorite target, and he likes to chuck it deep, dude. And when it comes to that, he's got 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games that he's played, and a bunch of targets. I'll take it. I'll take that every day. Give me Cedric Tillman.
Tell you what, I love that pick. I think Cedric Tillman is not only really fucking good. I think he's a league winner this year. I think he's going to be. I already think he's an every week starter. Because Jameis obviously loves him. He peppers him with targets both games that he's played so far. They seem to have really good chemistry. I mean, even the game that they played where they got destroyed, I cannot remember who they played, but the only touchdown he had was to Cedric Tillman at the end of the game. It seems Charger. It was the Charger. That's right. Mm-hmm. So, I love that. I think Cedric Tillman is a big time fantasy player for the rest of the season. I really do. So that's a good pick.
I like him too.
Savior number 3 for me, Mike Williams of the Steelers. I know he only had 1 catch last week, but it was a touchdown. He came back to the sideline and Mike Tomlin shook his hand and said, "You're a Steeler now." I think they want to get him involved. I think he's a perfect wide receiver type for Russell Wilson in the way he plays, the moon ball, that everyone says that Russell Wilson throws. I think Pickens and Mike Williams both are just a really good combination of wide receivers for Russell Wilson specifically in the way he plays. I think as the weeks go on, Mike Williams is going to get a little bit more involved here. And this is just like a Hail Mary play. I'm not saying play him over Devontae Adams or something like that. I think that if you need a flex play and you're desperate, I think Mike Williams has a chance to get a touchdown. So I'm going with Mike Williams. And also I didn't mention he's playing Baltimore, who has one of the worst pass defenses in the league. So obviously George Pickens is a play every single week here on out. Mike Williams is a play this week for me for sure.
All right. For my last savior of the week, I'm going with Chase Brown. Currently seeing over 80% of the snap count in that Bengals offense. Also on top of that, averaging 15 carries and 5 targets per game in the last 5 weeks. I love that. So, if that volume's not enough for you, here's another little stat line. The Chargers are faltering on run defense a little bit. They still have a strong defense in the pass game and stuff, but since week 6, they have been allowing 4.8 yards per carry to running backs. So, Chase Brown with some volume and an offense that can move the ball. I think it's a good recipe for success in fantasy.
Okay.
I'm going to stay in this game for my third savior of the week. Justin Herbert hasn't thrown a pick since week 2.
Wow.
He is not been called on to win games this year necessarily. I think his highest production was against the Denver Broncos in October. He hasn't really had like a crazy, and against Cardinals too. Like, he hasn't been called on to be the winner of these games for the Chargers. But I do believe that the Cincinnati Bengals and the offensive firepower that they have, Joe Burrow is going to come into town. I think that this turns into kind of a quarterback battle, because I don't think that the Chargers can necessarily win this game on the ground. They're going to have to call for Justin Herbert to take over this game a little bit more. So I'm calling it right now. This is going to be his coming out game of the year, right? We're going to see old Justin Herbert slinging it around, because they're going to have to put it in the air a little bit more for the Chargers to come out with this victory.
And let's be real, the Bengals defense is just atrocious.
Yes.
Specifically, their pass defense is just so bad. So
yeah,
good call.
It's time to exploit it.
Stinker number 1 for me. Yet another tight end, Jake Ferguson. Texans are second against tight ends in fantasy football. Last week, it didn't quite work out. I tried to attack this matchup with Sam Laporta, and he caught a touchdown like almost immediately. But Jake Ferguson has Cooper Rush throwing him the ball. The Cowboys just look fucking atrocious. I don't see how anybody on the Cowboys, other than maybe CeeDee Lamb, has a good game here. I'm benching Jake Ferguson everywhere I have him. And honestly, Jake Ferguson is on cut watch, depending on how Cooper Rush does. I would say this week and maybe next week. But I think if Cooper Rush looks really bad again this week, Jake Ferguson might be droppable for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because he's a good player.
Yeah. For my first stinker of the week, I'm going with DJ Moore. So this is kind of a tough one, because this is someone with a high draft grade, someone that usually would be a must start in your lineup, but the Bears offense just hasn't looked good. They're going up against the Packers, who have a very feisty pass defense. DJ Moore, just a casualty of his bad offense, man. And I honestly wouldn't even start him this week.
Or like DJ less, if you ask me. Dylan, any thoughts?
No. I'll stay in this game. DeAndre Swift, I think he'll be a stinker this week. I think that I don't really know how the Chicago offense is going to change with Thomas Brown as the offensive coordinator and the play caller. I don't know what it's going to look like. The Packers don't necessarily have a very good rush defense either. They're actually bottom five in the league when it comes to like yards and yards per game and stuff like that. But I don't see DeAndre Swift being able to take over this game, just because I don't think there's enough in the tank for the Chicago offense. Like, is it gonna be good right away? I don't know, dude. I think you could stuff the line of scrimmage and make Caleb Williams try to beat you over the top and see what happens. Just don't let our best playmaker on offense this year, DeAndre Swift, beat you. And I think the Packers defense is good enough to know, and their coaching staff is good enough to know that. Yeah,
good call. It's a good call. Second stinker for me, Mike Gesicki, another tight end, I know. Simple as this, T. Higgins is coming back. Let me read you the stat lines for him, or the fantasy points, I should say, for Mike Gesicki with T. Higgins and without T. Higgins. Okay, this is without T. Higgins. 4 points, 16 points, 12 points, 27 points, and 7 points. With T. Higgins playing, 8 points, 0 points, 5 points, 0 points, 1 point. Mike Gesicki just gets basically taken out of the offense when T. Higgins plays, which rightfully so, because T. Higgins is a great player and Mike Gesicki is just whatever. I am not playing Mike Gesicki for as long as T. Higgins is there. And also, to me personally, Mike Gesicki is droppable for this reason alone. You're not playing him this week against the Chargers, and next week he has a bye week. So if you need a roster spot, Mike Gesicki is a dead spot on your bench for the next 2 weeks. Go ahead and cut him.
For my second stinker, I'm going with Kirk Cousins. So he's playing against the Broncos this week, so that's pretty self-explanatory already. Bad matchup. But also the stat line right here. So Kirk Cousins averages 11.3 fantasy points per game against all other teams not named the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who he has played against twice, and averages 31 fantasy points against them. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Falcons already kind of just look like a very inconsistent team at times, and this is a very, very bad matchup against the Denver Broncos defense. So, yeah, stay away from Kirk Cousins this week if you can.
Stay away from him, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll noted. So I do want to correct myself. The Green Bay Packers rush defense is like middle of the pack. I was reading the wrong statistics.
Oh, wow. That's so embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed for you right now. I have secondhand embarrassment right now. I don't even feel comfortable being in the same room with you right now.
I'll go back to being dead.
Okay.
All right. My second stinker of the week is, I'm just going to stay in the Chicago Green Bay game. It's Jordan Love. Not that I don't think he'll have an efficient game, but I don't think that he will have a fantasy relevant game against Chicago, one of the top pass defenses in the league. I mean, one of the better corners in the league. I have to believe they'll lean on the run game a little bit more. I wouldn't look for Jordan Love to blow up the stat sheet. But now that I've said that, he's going to throw 4 touchdowns. So
I'm still a little concerned that his groin's still bothering him too. They had a bye week last week, right?
Yes.
Were they on bye last week? So maybe it's a little bit better now, but still, I feel like groin injuries are one of those injuries that can be a little tricky moving forward.
I'm actually sitting Love this week already, so it's kind of funny.
Third stinker for me, Travis Etienne. So you see that the news that Tank Bigsby is going to miss this, and you're like, oh, Travis Etienne's going to get all the carries for himself. It's not a great thing, honestly, because one, the Jaguars still stink. They're going up against the Lions run D, which we know is a top 5 unit in the NFL. Also, Travis Etienne fucking sucks. He's just not a good football player anymore. I don't know what happened to him. And also they don't have Trevor Lawrence too, which I know Trevor Lawrence isn't very good either, but like Mac Jones didn't show anything last week either to prove that like the offense can move better with him either. I don't like this situation at all. I'm absolutely sitting Travis Etienne. I don't care that Tank Bigsby's not playing.
All right. My last stinker of the week, staying in the same game, Evan Ingram. Pretty much the same reason Mac Jones is at quarterback. They're going up against the Lions, who rank pretty highly at defending against the tight end position. Although Evan Ingram could maybe sneak like 5 or 6 catches out of this game, I'm just not feeling too great about it. If you do have a better option, I would maybe try and look for that.
Third stinker of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Zay Flowers.
Ooh, it's tough.
It is tough. It's very tough. It is what it is. But what I'm looking at here is a different animal in the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which Lamar Jackson has a losing record against in his career, hasn't been highly efficient quarterback. Zay Flowers has been having a good season. Yeah, that's good. It's fine and dandy, dude. Not this week. Not against that Steelers defense. Not unless he could rip off another 10 catches, 115 yards in the first half. That second half Steelers defense comes out a different animal. Teams do not score on the Steelers in the second half at a rate that it's below league average, is what I'm saying. When they make their checks and their adjustments at halftime, they come out a different team. I don't think the Steelers will necessarily win this game, but it ain't going to be an offensive fireworks show. And Zay Flowers will not be sitting there going, having a career day or even a fantasy relevant day versus the Steelers. It's going to be scrappy.
Yeah, that's a good call. I would be nervous about playing him this week too.
Yes.
Okay. Should we get to the week 11 preview then, boys? The Cardinals, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Buccaneers all on bye this week. First game, Raiders 2-7 at Dolphins 3-6. Gardner Minshew will be the starting quarterback for the Raiders again, probably until like 3 minutes left in the second, and then they'll go to Desmond Ridder because that's what they seem to like to do for whatever reason. Just stick with somebody for fun. They all suck. Just stick with somebody, for crying out loud. Nate Hobbs is also out for the Raiders. Jalen Ramsey was dealing with a knee injury, but he is off the injury report and he will play. Kendall Fuller is out with a concussion. This game is in Miami, and I'm going to say this right now. I think the Dolphins win by like 30, dude. I honestly, this is the get right game for the Dolphins that make them believe that they could make a run. I really do think this. Nate Hobbs being out is tough for the secondary for sure. He's a very nice player. I don't think Gardner Minshew's got it in him. I don't want to see Desmond Ridder either. Do not get me wrong. I would rather Minshew start than Desmond Ridder, but I don't think Minshew's got it in him this year, man. I just really don't. Minshew hasn't had a single ounce of Minshew magic, not even a single time this season.
Not even that much.
Maybe like the second half of the Ravens game where he was just like tunnel throwing to Devontae Adams. He was just literally like, I'm only throwing to Devontae Adams the rest of the game type stuff. This is just not a good matchup for the Raiders. I think that they're about to get destroyed, honestly. Give me the Dolphins by a lot.
Yeah, I had the same exact thoughts. Like the same exact thoughts to the point where I almost even included someone like Jonnu Smith onto our saviors list just because there's so many.
Be a good play.
Yeah, because there's so many bad tight end matchups this week too, so people might be looking elsewhere. But yeah, man, give me the Dolphins. I mean, I think this is finally going to be the time where, we might see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have touchdowns. Hopefully Devon Achane will have like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Just huge renaissance day for the Dolphins. That's what I'm expecting here.
How many points do you think they're going to score? You think they're going to score 60 points?
I think they're pushing 40, personally.
I think so too, at least 40.
Everybody gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
Achane,
Why
you
not?
get 3.
Why
you
not?
Get 3.
Why not?
Oh, Achane's about to feast, brother.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I'm playing Dylan this week. I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the game where Tyreek Hill has a good chance to bolster his fantasy stats this year. There's nobody on the Raiders that can even run with Tyreek Hill. So even if he's just used as a decoy and gets a play here and there, he will open up that team because at this point, Tyreek Hill, you have little to no role in that offense so far this season. You're struggling. You have scored, 89 fantasy points through 9 games. Wow, dude. Just stretch this, run up and down the field as much as you can to open it up for everyone else or score a touchdown for the love of God.
I will say, I don't know if I fully believe the Raiders do have an excellent cornerback. Is actually one of the better kept secrets this year. Ja'Carrion Bennett has been really, really good. One of the more underrated corners in the league. I don't know Tyreek Hill obviously is going to be a big test, but he has gone up against a lot of good receivers this year and held his own. So I actually do think that the Raiders have a decent cornerback that can deal with either Hill or Waddle for a little bit, but just the secondary in total probably will not be able to hold off every single weapon that the Dolphins have.
It's going to be a very warm game in Miami. It's going to be in the 80s. It's going to be really humid. I don't know if Vegas, the indoor team, is going to hold up very well against the nature out there.
They do practice outdoors, the Raiders.
It's been cold here though.
It has been, but not the entire season.
True. I'm gonna take Miami to win this game, by the way. I kind of agree with Brian.
I want to say, Dylan, will you be the weather guy? We need to include the weather more when we talk about games. Honestly, if I'm not even joking, for fantasy's sake. No, that is a factor.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great idea. If I could pass that responsibility over to you, that would be fantastic.
Oh, of course. So
can you just have weather.com open at all times?
You know what? I am going to do that. I'll open it right now. Like I've mentioned the weather on this game right now. It's it's going to be slightly cloudy, 81 degrees with a little sprinkle of humidity.
Okay.
They're coming off of the ocean. Might be a few cold breezes, but what we're looking at here is, in my opinion, prime football playing weather.
Okay.
But as we've seen, the Florida home field advantage during those during the warmer months, or when it's warm in the colder months, it can make leave you cramped up. It can leave you feeling a little sluggish, dehydrated. Keep an eye out for that.
All right. I didn't ask to be a meteorologist. I just wanted the weather report, pal. All right.
You didn't say what you wanted at first. Now that, thank you for clarifying that.
I'm your host, Brian Dixon, joined as always by Al Roker. Browns 2-7 at Saints 3-7. Kool-Aid McKinstry is questionable with a hamstring injury. Pete Werner is questionable with a hand injury. As we've talked about, this is a potential Jameis Winston revenge game. It's in New Orleans. How are we feeling about this one? Are the Saints going to build off of that win that they had last week? Or does Jameis get his quote-unquote revenge, Kai?
I think I am going to side with the revenge storyline here. I mean, I know the Saints just had their magic moment last week. I don't see it continuing, especially against the Browns. I do think the Browns, they have what it takes to beat a team like the Saints. They still have a pretty decent defense. I think Jameis will sling it as much as he can and make this game interesting. Yeah, just give me the Browns. I feel something here.
What do you feel?
Unwavering faith.
Yeah, ultimate belief.
Dude, yes. Perfect.
What you got, Dylan?
This game is going to be indoors.
It is indoors.
The weather will have no factor on this game.
Yes.
Yes. So that is enough to say about that. What I see is a kind of a reeling, not as good Saints defense. I mean, you have to imagine they have a little bit of energy in this game, but they don't really have weapons. And what the Browns do have is a weapon. They have a weapon in Jameis Winston. Now, is that going to be for their favor or for a drawback for them? Because you get one of two guys. I think Jameis comes out hot in this game, slinging the ball around. You also got Nick Chubb, and I think in a mismatch against that Saints defense, I think this could be a Nick Chubb game. I'm going to take the Browns to win this game, and I think this will be an early morning shootout for the morning games.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a shootout. I'm going to pick the Saints, though. They're at home. They got the momentum from last week with their new head coach. I don't think the Saints are going to make a run here or anything like that, but I also don't think the Browns are a good team. I love Jameis Winston. Do not get me wrong, but I don't think the Browns are good. I agree with Dylan. I think Nick Chubb is a decent start this week for fantasy. I think Tillman, you're obviously starting. I think David Njoku is a fantastic start. I think you could start Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara. Obviously, you're starting MVS if you're desperate. Might be a flex play. I do think that this is a shootout, but give me the Saints at home. I think the Saints win this one.
Okay.
I will be rooting for the Jameis Winston revenge game because I'm a big Jameis guy, but I got the Saints here. It's just a feeling I got. Colts 4-6 at Jets 3-7. Tyron Smith is out for New York. Devontae Adams is questionable with an illness. I expect him to probably suit up and play. So obviously we already talked about Anthony Richardson is starting again for Indianapolis. I mean, we already kind of talked about this game a little bit. If you guys feel free to add any more points if you want to. I think you're starting all the obvious names for New York: Brees, Devontae, Garrett Wilson. For the Colts, you're starting Jonathan Taylor, and I think that's probably it. Like, if you have no one else, Josh Downs is somebody that you can play, but it's not going to feel very, very good out there. Do you guys have any opinions? Who do you think is going to win? I'm personally picking the Jets. I'm going to say that right now. I think the Jets take care of the Colts.
Yeah, I'm picking the Jets too, but I don't feel good about it.
No, definitely not. I don't feel good about it either.
Like, we picked the Jets in some games this season alone where it's like, oh yeah, they should win that one. But
last week we all picked the Jets and they got destroyed by like 30 points.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's like I don't want to pick the Jets just because it feels nasty, but there literally is no sense of inspiration coming from the Colts side of things. So I
was going to say, the thing is, if you pick the Colts, are you going to feel good about picking the Colts?
No.
Yeah. This is a lose-lose no matter what. It's a coin flip. We have no idea who's going to show up and who's not here.
Yeah, just give me the Jets. I mean, I just think, they should have the better defense. Aaron Rodgers does have some star power. Should have more star power on his side of the field, so we'll see.
I see Devontae Adams is questionable with an illness. He's sick to his stomach about that loss against the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Colts.
Oh,
I think that this is a toss-up game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, dude? The Jets just don't look inspiring. Tyron Smith is out. I mean, that Colts defense isn't isn't like the best, but they have a really good front seven. They really do have a really, really good front seven.
That's true.
I look
love
for
Kenny Moore too. I'm a big Kenny Moore guy.
This game is in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's going to be 64 and sunny, no wind, no rain. We're talking about a perfect football weather game up there in the Northeast in New Jersey. You know, it looks like it's going to be a good one. But you know what? I think a sneaky start you could get from the Colts, and I don't think anybody will have the guts to do it, but it's Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is Anthony Richardson's favorite dude to bomb it to. I'm talking about if the guy has 9 completions, 2 of them will be to Alec Pierce for 160 yards or something. It'll be nuts, dude. It'll be nuts. But I don't really have the guts to start anybody in this game outside of Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, guys like that. I would start Garrett Wilson. I think he'll probably have a touchdown in this game. But give me the Colts to win. I think both of these teams are in shambles. It's kind of shown. These are probably 2 of the most dysfunctional front offices in the NFL up to this day in the NFL. So it's going to be a close one. But yeah, man, I think the Colts are just slightly better and more athletic.
Vikings 7-2 at Tennessee Titans 2-7. L'Jarius Sneed is out with a quad injury. Will Levis gets the start once again for Tennessee. Sam Darnold looked really damn bad last week against a bad team. He gets another bad team, but with a better defense than last week's. Are we expecting bad Darnold again, or do we think we get back to the good Darnold?
Yeah, it's when I was first looking at this game, I was like in my head immediately. I was like, "Oh, Vikings," and then I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on. They looked like crap last week."
Hold up,
like you said, wait a minute. Yeah, like you said, against a bad team, but they're playing another one with a way better defense. So, what's gonna give here? I wonder.
Can we get a weather report, please?
Yeah, actually,
Nashville. Yeah. So Nashville, Tennessee, 68 degrees, partly cloudy, a 1% chance of rain, and south by southwest winds at 7 miles an hour.
Sounds like a beautiful day in Tennessee.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful day, dude.
I'm gonna say the Vikings. The bad Darnold day definitely worries me because there's still like a voice in the back of my head that's like, do not trust this. Sam Darnold's still Sam Darnold, but he's been so good that it's like you kind of got to keep it going here. The Vikings are just the better team. I think that Vikings defense is going to have Will Levis in fits. Brian Flores is going to be on his ass. I'm taking the Vikings, and I don't think it's going to be a close game.
I'm going to take the Vikings, but I'm going to say it is going to be close. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to stop falling yet. I just don't think it's going to keep up all year. But the Vikings are the better team. You're right. I just think the Titans could give them some fits.
Okay.
I think the Titans will give them fits. And from what I saw last week, it was playing a really, really, really bad Jaguars team. Really, really, really bad, dude. Probably the worst team in the NFL, the Jaguars are. With a backup quarterback, with a defense that every other team that's played them has just slaughtered. And they could not get it done, dude. Bad decision-making, bad passes. It's a game of inches. And Sam Darnold almost lost them this game, and he will lose them this game. Give me the Titans.
Wow. Okay.
I thought about it, but I was like,
The Titans defense is far and away the best defense this year. Yards per game, takeaways, pass defense, rush defense. They're really, really solid, coached really, really well. And I think that's the issue in this game.
Well, I agree with that, but I just don't think the Titans on offense can muster up enough against the Vikings' great defense.
They won't have to.
True.
Let me name you some guys. You tell me if they're worth starting. Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Start.
Calvin Ridley.
Start.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Start.
I assume you're definitely starting Hawkinson.
Yeah.
No.
I think
really?
I think he's a good start this week. I do
too. I do too. I think Hawkinson's a very good start this week.
Yeah.
This is the game, dude. This is a trap game. This is the trap game.
I also think Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a sneaky flex play if you're desperate. If you're
Ridley?
very, very desperate. I say Calvin Ridley. I say Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I would start him.
I would start. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's just the matchup. It's the Vikings have a very leaky pass defense, and I think that it's weakness versus weakness here. You know, on that Vikings defense side, I just don't trust them to hold down, even though it's Will Levis. It's Will Levis this week, right?
It is Will Levis. Yep.
Okay, so something does have to give, and I don't think the Vikings. I think they're just vulnerable enough to just get beat this week. It's probably be another ugly game.
Packers 6-3 at the Bears 4-5. Talked about Marshawn Lloyd. He's dealing with appendicitis. Bears placed Jaquan Brisker on injured reserve. Just complete malpractice on that organization, dude. He should have been on injured reserve weeks ago. Montez Sweat is questionable with an ankle injury. Jair Alexander is questionable with a knee injury. I wanted to get your thoughts on this quote, Dylan. I assume that you've seen this. Xavier McKinney about DJ Moore. Let me find it real quick here. Quote, "This dude walked out on his quarterback. I've been playing football for 5 years now, and I've been watching football for longer than that, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. You're supposed to be the guy, and you're walking off the field on a rookie quarterback." What do you think about that?
No, I agree. I agree with
him too.
Yeah, me too.
I agree with him completely. And he tried to come out with a DJ Moore, tried to come out. And look, I love DJ Moore. Let me preface that with this. I love DJ Moore. He's a great guy. I think he's a good football player. But he came out and said, "Oh, I tweaked my ankle." But then you're watching him walk. If you watch that play and you watch him walk to the bench, dude, you're lying. Your ankle was not tweaked.
He played the next down.
Your ankle wasn't tweaked, dude. Just admit you thought Caleb Williams went out of bounds. You walked off the field without making any. And by the way, there was like 9 more seconds to that play after you walked off the field, dude. There was 9 more seconds where Caleb Williams reversed the field, came all the way back around, and attempted a pass. Now, where were you, dude? Xavier McKinney, dude. I know you play for the Packers. It hurts me that this has to be said, but you're right, dude. He didn't show enough fire, and he's been checked out. A lot of the receivers have been checked out. It shows they're not playing hard.
Yeah, I completely agree with his sentiments. I think that's such a bullshit move by DJ Moore that he did that. I do not buy into the ankle thing. Literally playing the next down. Yeah, I'm completely with Xavier McKinney there. I agree. Let's get to the actual game then. It's in Chicago, but do the Bears actually have any chance to upset the Packers? I guess we'll start with Dylan. Go ahead. Tell me what you think about this game.
Do they have any chance?
Do they have a chance to actually beat the Packers, do you think?
Of course there's a chance.
A realistic chance. Like, obviously anything can happen, but like, are you going into this game thinking that there's a chance? Are you expecting to get your ass kicked?
No, I think there's a realistic chance that the Bears win. Their defense is good enough to keep them in every single game this year. It's shown that their defense is not the liability. Like that's as long as you have a good defense, you have a chance to win every single game that you play in. All right, that's the real opinion here. This game will be 58 degrees at game time with a 15% chance of rain, with the ever so present Chicago winds being unpredictable the way that they are. Now, that being said, will the Bears win this game? I don't think so. I don't think that they'll win this game. It's just our offense has not mustered enough. Now, if they come out in this game and they show a little bit of offense, like I've said before, dude, when the Bears muster a little bit of offense, maybe 2 touchdowns, we tend to win games when we have a defense like this. But I don't have the faith in it, right? Matt, the good thing is this is an away game on a Sunday, right?
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah.
It's a home game on a Sunday. So
statistically, historically, you have a chance.
We have a chance.
Yeah.
But I read something the other day, dude. We have not beat the Packers since 2018.
Really?
Oh, man, that's tough. So you guys beat them in the Chicago game that year? Because I remember that was the week 1 game where Aaron Rodgers came back all drugged up, right? And was that 2018? Are you sure? I was in Arizona for that game.
That was 2018, but we beat them on the Brett Favre. I think it was like the No,
Brett Favre.
we beat them in. No, it was like the Brett Favre Appreciation Day.
Oh,
You know, they finally showed their appreciation to Brett Favre when we beat them that day.
So you're picking the Packers?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Packers.
I'm picking the Packers as well. That weather, the weather. Why did I just say that like that? The weather really makes me nervous, though. The rain and the wind, dude, for like both sides playing fantasy players. The one player that I've gone back and forth on because he's a player that you probably should start every week, no matter what. But just like looking at the matchup on paper, probably does not bode well for him. Is Jaden Reed. The Bears are really good against players in the receivers in the slot this year. The weather looks like it's going to be nasty. Jordan Love, last time we saw him, he looked fucking horrible in the rain. Looked like he was still very injured. I'm playing Jaden Reed this week, but this is the most nervous I've been all season by far about playing Jaden Reed. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I mean, it checks out because normally in bad weather games, teams tend to run the ball more because it's more like easier thing to do in those kind of weather conditions. So yeah, I could see your logic in maybe seeing Jaden Reed being like, like being worried about starting him because, Dylan already said he thinks this is going to be a dominant run game by the Packers, which I agree with too. And for that same reason, I'm going to pick the Packers in this matchup.
Mm-hmm. And also if Montez Sweat doesn't play, we lose our pass rush. We lose like a little bit of toughness on the front seven. It's not a good look anytime we play the Packers, but our offense is just historically bad right now.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because I saw this 2016 Bears play, and I thought that was bad.
Jaguars 2-8 at Lions 8-1. No weather for this game. It is indoors in Ford Field. Tank Bigsby is out with an ankle injury. Trevor Lawrence is out. Sam Laporta is out. The Lions are winning this game. Straight up, the Lions are winning this game. Mac Jones is going to get eaten alive out there. Travis Etienne is going to get eaten alive out there. The Lions are going to smell blood in the water like a shark and pounce all over these goofballs. I have the Lions winning by 20.
Yeah, there's really not much to say with this game at all. I mean, you can't even really make an argument for the Jaguars winning this game unless it was like week 18 and the Lions have locked up the number 1 seed or something. But yeah, Lions should smash them. This should look very much like the Tennessee Titans game where they just completely destroyed them.
I will say before I get to you, Dylan, Brian Thomas is another one I'm very nervous about playing just because the quarterback. I know the Lions' pass defense is not good. I think they're 30th in the league.
They might have to throw a lot, though.
In theory, it could work out, but like Mac Jones just did not look good at all last week. And yeah, so I'm still playing Brian Thomas, but I'm nervous about this one for sure. Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram, I think, are the only Jaguars I would even consider playing. The Lions, you're playing all the normal Lions. So yeah, me and Kai are both on Detroit. What about you, Dylan? I know you want to pick the Jaguars.
That's the last thing I would ever do, I think. If you asked me this question 100 times in a row, I would say the Lions each time. I don't think I literally don't. There's virtually no chance that the Jags win this game. And if they do, it will make no sense. A lot of bad things would have to happen to Detroit for the Jags to win this game. They're not inspiring, dude. And they should be tanking. They shouldn't want to win this game. Yeah,
I mean, you're right. They shouldn't want to. I mean, Doug Peterson should because he's probably coaching for his job right now.
Who wants to coach in Jacksonville anyways, dude? He probably wants to get fired.
Nice weather down there. Probably a nice place to live, honestly, for like a 50-year-old man. Probably a very chill place.
He could get fired and go straight into retirement and live on the beach.
Yeah. Actually, that probably would be awesome. He'd still get paid his contract too.
Yeah,
I don't know how many years he has left, but that would actually be a pretty sweet move. It's kind of a win-win. You either keep your job or you get to retire in Florida. That's pretty cool.
Doug Peterson, call us.
What? You mean the Eagles? I thought you meant us specifically. Was he a fourth co-host, Doug Peterson on the podcast?
No, I meant call us for life advice on what to do next.
Oh, I thought you wanted him back in Philadelphia. I was like, is he an offensive guy?
Yeah, but no, I don't want him.
Yeah, because he was a former quarterback, right?
Yeah.
All right. Rams 4-5 at Patriots 3-7. Christian Barmore is set to make his return. Of course, he was dealing with that scary blood clot incident earlier in the season, so good for him making his season debut. Kyle Duggar is questionable. Can I get a weather check for Foxborough, Massachusetts, please?
Yeah, because I was yawning.
I'm picking the Rams, but this has trap game written all over it. By trap game, I mean the Rams are only a game up on the Patriots, so it's not like a true trap game. But I think we all consider the Rams like an actual playoff caliber team, where the Patriots are not. I would not be shocked if the Patriots won this game. I'm not going to. Am I going to pick them? Maybe
I am.
I'm kombucha girling this a little bit, where I'm like, maybe no, yeah, maybe no. You're gonna pick the Patriots, guy. I'm gonna pass it to you because I want to decide here.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Patriots in this one. I don't know. I think it is kind of trap game ish. I mean, like you said, Rams are only a game up, but man, they looked bad last week. I mean, we were all high on them for a second. The gang's back together. We were expecting to see something good last week, but we didn't. Christian Barmore is a huge addition to make back to this defense. I don't know if he's going to be on like a limited snap count or anything, but just his presence alone on that D line will give this Patriots defense a boost, which they've been feisty at times throughout this year. They've given them a chance to win.
Chance to wins.
Yeah. But I think this is honestly a pretty winnable game here for the Patriots, honestly. I mean, if Drake May keeps continuing the way that he's playing, I think they could beat the Rams, honestly.
Dylan, what say you?
Well, at kickoff, it will be 61 degrees sunny with no chance of rain and light winds.
There we go.
Okay. Beautiful.
Nothing too bad. Nothing too bad. Yeah, man, the Rams really did look bad last week, but I don't think you could look at that New England win against Chicago as like, ooh, they're back. They're back. No.
I'm not saying that at all. No.
I think.
I just think they could beat the Rams. That's all I'm saying.
All right, dude. I kind of agree with you, but I'm not going to take it very seriously. I'm going to go with the better team, the better coach, the better quarterback, the better receivers, the better defense, everything all around. I look at the Rams to win this game. I don't think Sean McVay has it in him to lose 2 games in a row like that. And
you got the Rams?
I got the Rams, yeah.
I'm going to go Rams too. I'm going to go Rams as well. I just think they're the better team. The Rams pass rush has been fantastic. I mean, Jared Verse is amazing. I went back and looked at some of the top pass rushers stats this year, and like Dallas Turner hasn't been very good. He's had a couple of moments, but nothing crazy. Same with Laiatu Latu. Jared Verse has been an actual difference maker for the Rams. I think the Rams are going to learn from their mistakes last week against Miami. I think that they're going to beat the Patriots. I do think it's going to be a very, very close game, though, and I think it's going to be low scoring. Give me the Rams. Next up, Ravens 7-3 at Steelers 7-2. Kyle Hamilton and Isaiah Likely are off the injury report, will both play. Jaylen Warren is questionable with a back injury. Alex Highsmith is out. Here's a quote from Mike Tomlin earlier in the week on facing Deontay Johnson, former Steeler. Quote, he's not on a lot of their video. They've got more significant pieces with larger roles to worry about. I was like, oh, that kind of felt a litlittle backhanded right there.
Yeah, like he just joined the team.
He did, but
yeah.
Deontay, he had some moments where he looked a little bit like a jerk with Pittsburgh. So I almost wonder if that was a little like a petty jab thrown from Tomlin.
Yeah.
Dylan, I believe you already said that you think the Steelers are going to win, right? Or did I hear you wrong with the Zay Flowers?
Yes. No, you have it. You have it correct.
All right, go ahead and tell me why. And also give me a weather report for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's see. Pulling it up now. The Weather Channel website is a little slow. At the time of this game, what time is this game played?
I don't know.
This is an early game. Okay, so we have 55 degrees, cloudy. A lot of good weather for these games.
Yeah,
a lot of good weather for these games. It's not looking like too much adverse weather.
That's going to change in 2 weeks.
As for that quote by Mike Tomlin, I feel like he gives the perfect answers for stupid fucking questions.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean on facing Deontay Johnson? They have other players that do more. The perfect answer. I love Mike Tomlin. So for this game, I think that it's going to come down to defense, right? The Ravens' pass defense is a little shaky. I think George Pickens will probably feast on this defense. George Pickens will probably have a touchdown. As for like the Ravens side, they have a really good team, right? Like they have Derrick Henry, they have Lamar Jackson, but these games are never predictable, right? Pittsburgh has I think Pittsburgh has one of the 3 best defenses in the league, and they don't have a weakness. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense does not have a weakness. They defend the run well, they defend the pass well, they take the ball away, they can rush the passer. Give me the more complete defense to come out of this struggle. This is going to be a defensive struggle game.
Give me the Steelers as well. I think the Steelers win. Like you said, Lamar struggles sometimes against the Steelers. The Steelers have a great defense. Like you said, very little holes there. Losing Alex Highsmith is going to hurt, but I don't think it's going to affect it so much that the Steelers defense will take like a drastic fall or anything like that. They have a very good D. In Pittsburgh, it's going to be tough to play there. I already said that obviously George Pickens is going to eat. I already said that I think Mike Williams is going to have a very good game too. Give me the Steelers. I think it'll be close-ish. I think the Steelers win by a touchdown. I'll say 31-24 Steelers.
Yeah, I'm picking the Steelers too. I hadn't decided before we talked about this, but man, it's just there's something about that Mike Tomlin guy I like. There's something I like about him. Yeah, there's something I trust about him. Yeah, so in these weird divisional games, as Dylan said, they're just so unpredictable. But if there is one thing that you can always trust no matter what, it is a great defense. And the Steelers do have, in fact, a great defense. Russell Wilson's playing lights out with the offense right now, too. I do expect the Steelers to have a good offensive showing in this game, too. And I think they'll do just enough to take one here from the Ravens.
Yeah, man, Lamar Jackson in his career only has 4 passing touchdowns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
How many games?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He's only played the Steelers 6 times.
Yeah, he was, I believe, the last couple of years he's been injured during those games.
Wow. Okay. Seahawks 4-5 at Niners 5-4. George Kittle questionable with a hamstring. Trent Williams questionable with an ankle. Travarius Ward is out. DK Metcalf will make his return from injury. Noah Fant is out. Give me the 49ers. I just think they're the better team. The Seahawks, they started 3-0. They're 1-5 since. I think they're easily the worst team in that division. DK Metcalf is obviously a help getting him back, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I give me the 49ers. My question for you guys, though, is JSN still going to be usable now that DK is back? Because I would be pretty nervous about playing him personally.
Yeah, I think there is a slight cause for concern, just because if this game goes how I think it's going to go, there's not going to be a lot of positive game script for a Seahawks offense. I think the 49ers are going to whiplash them. So just with DK being there, I think he's going to get most of the targets, even in a game like this. And, JSN's just going to be a casualty of it. So, yeah, there's some cause for concern for sure.
Yeah, I think CMC is going to have his return game here. I think this is going to be his first big game of the year. Another question I have for you guys, too, is Ricky Pearsall. Are you playing him? Is he playable? I think he is, potentially.
Yeah.
He's not somebody I'm dying to get in my lineup, but he is playable, like in a flex role.
I would. If it worked.
That's going to be tricky. That's going to be tricky because in this Niners offense, you never know who's going to get the ball. It could be Jawan Jennings. It could be a George Kittle. It could be a CMC week. It could be, a game where Brock Purdy scores a rushing touchdown. There's so many different variables to it that I don't necessarily feel the safest starting Pearsall regardless, just because of all the weapons in San Francisco. At the time of kickoff, it looks like, let me see here.
Santa Clara, remember, not San Francisco.
Ugh.
Also, if you're having trouble with the Weather Channel app, can I suggest AccuWeather potentially? They have a pretty good app. I've never been on their website though. AccuWeather.
Or if you're just on, or if you're on the
free ads.
I was gonna say if you're on the ESPN scoreboard too, it shows you the AccuWeather thing right there.
But not very Well, at the time of kickoff, it looks like this game will be about 61 degrees with a 34% chance of rain. Actually forecasted
Ooh.
showers.
Wow. Okay.
So we got some rain. Yeah, either way, I'm still picking the 49ers. I mean, as we alluded to in Sunday Saviors and Stinkers, we got a lot of Niners as our saviors. So
Yeah, give me the 49ers. It's a must win.
mm-hmm.
It's a must win for San
Yeah.
Francisco. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Arizona has just proven they keep winning, and they're winning just indiscriminately against who they play. Arizona is. So Arizona's a good team, and I don't think they should be taken lightly. And I think the 49ers really should set a fire under their own ass. This is a division game you can't lose.
Next up, Falcons 6-4 at Broncos 5-5. No real injuries to report, but I dug this up. Coach Speak Index, my good friend, who I call my friend, who has no idea who I am. He was talking about this earlier in the week on Twitter. So I had never even heard of this story before, and this is all the way back from 2011. Apparently, Sean Payton and Raheem Morris used to have beef, which I assume still probably carries over to this day. This is from 2011, 13 years ago, when Raheem Morris was the Buccaneers coach. Bucs coach Raheem Morris said it was his belief that the Saints reported the Bucs to NFL officials for their decision not to list quarterback Josh Freeman on the injury report despite a sprained thumb. It turns out he was right. Saints coach Sean Payton admitted as much to New Orleans reporters that day. Listen, I think when your quarterback's on NFL Network with a splint on his thumb, normally he's on the injury report, Payton said. At least take the splint off before you go on NFL Network, right? Also, I agree with him. I agree with Sean Payton. I'm like, what are you guys, stupid? Why would you do that if he's not on the injury report? Probably nothing, but maybe a revenge game narrative for Raheem Morris. I don't know if they played since then. I don't know how many years Raheem Morris was the Buccaneers coach. I can't even remember. I can't even believe it was 2011 when he was head coach there. It seems like forever ago. Raheem Morris is still like a decently young head coach. I already said during Saviors and Stinkers that I'm picking the Falcons. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Falcons.
I'm picking the Broncos. So I already had Kirk as one of my stinkers, but man, even in this game, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like I look at the defense, I look at the head coach matchup. You know, Sean Payton's got it. He's got the defense. Falcons haven't looked too great at times. I think this is definitely a game where the Falcons can hit a wall on offense against this Denver Broncos defense. Bo Nix looked great last week. You know, we've seen him start to take strides with this offense. He's turned Cortland Sutton into a WR1 again. There's something I like about the Broncos in this matchup here at home. Give me the Broncos to win.
Yep. At the time of kickoff, we're looking at about 52 degrees and sunny.
Okay.
And it's very nice weather in Denver, dude. It's going to be real high up in the air. We all know they're called the Mile High City. And sometimes, you know, Atlanta is a low elevation town. They are very close to the ocean. And I think it's going to be a home field advantage for the Broncos. Give me the Broncos to win. They have a really, really, really good pass rush. Kirk Cousins does not do well under pressure, I don't think. And if this is a Raheem Morris, Sean Payton beef game, and they're going to start playing this whole narrative on it, the last coach in the NFL I want beef with is Sean Payton. I'm sorry. He's a little baby-faced assassin. He's a 60-year-old man that looks like an old baby. You know what? And I got to give it to him, dude. He's still one of the better coaches in the NFL. And I think that defense will carry them. Bo Nix will have a good game. I think this is a stinker for the Falcons.
Game of the week: Chiefs 9-0 at Buffalo Bills 8-2. Dalton Kincaid is out. Amari Cooper is expected to play. Keon Coleman is out. Harrison Butker is going on injured reserve with a knee injury.
That's huge.
So he's gonna be out for at least the next 4 weeks. And Isaiah Pacheco is still out.
It's kind of that's a big injury for the Chiefs, you know, Butker.
It is. So I did a little research here with Harrison Butker. Apparently, he's been switched up his kicking style to where, like, when he makes kicks, he falls down on his left knee, which is the injured knee. And I don't know if that's, like, designed to be that way or if he's been injured for a while, or it's like a chicken and the egg situation. I'm not sure which came first. Something to keep an eye on if he keeps doing that. Or I had not realized this, by the way, at all, that he does this, but I was looking on Twitter and people were talking about how he's been falling to his knee after every kick. So don't know. Something to look at, something to keep in mind as we move forward. But Kai is right. That is a huge loss, obviously, because he's one of the best kickers in the league.
Well, and he's usually the reason why the Bills have lost. Like, usually the Bills have lost by 3 to the Chiefs, and it's because of Harrison Butker. So,
Josh Allen has never beaten Patrick Mahomes in Buffalo before, regular season or playoffs. I mean, on paper, this seems like the most likely game that Kansas City's going to lose, right?
Mm-hmm. At least
so.
Right now. Yeah.
Who are you picking then?
Something makes me want to pick the Bills. I mean, I just can't really explain it. It's just one of those things where it's like I think it's finally time for Josh Allen to get one here at home against Mahomes. They've been looking really good lately as a team too, so I think now's the time.
You're picking the Bills?
Yeah. I know it's a little spicy because something's like the Chiefs just aren't going to lose, right? But I don't know. They have to at some point.
The officiating crew that is handling this game calls the most pre-snap penalties, illegal formations, false starts in the league.
Who's the head ref?
I can't remember. I can't remember his name, but if you look it up, this is the guy, right? The Buffalo Bills have the second most pre-snap penalties in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs have the least.
Oh, go figure.
Right? And so the guy that's calling all these penalties...
Land Clark. I don't know who Land Clark is.
The guy's name is Land.
Okay. I know who Land Clark is. Yeah, I didn't know his name, but I've seen him a million times.
I've seen this movie 100 times. Harrison Butker or not. This is going to be a close game down to the end. But if it's going to be a ref show, which it seems all Chiefs games are, I just don't see it breaking in the favor of the Bills again. I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I'm just gonna be safe on this and try not to be cute with it.
I'm picking the Chiefs as well. I think the Chiefs defense is good enough that they can contain the Bills offense with the lack of weapons that they have. I know Mark Cooper's probably going to play, but no Kincaid, no Keon Coleman. I like Khalil Shakur, don't get me wrong, but no one would mistake him for like Justin Jefferson anytime soon. James Cook's been perfectly fine. But I think the Chiefs defense is going to be good enough to not shut down the Bills offense, but keep them steady for as long enough for Patrick Mahomes to do work. And Mahomes just owns the Bills, man.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think the Chiefs go undefeated, but I don't think it's going to be the obvious team that beats them either. I think they're just going to lose like a random goofy game to like the Chargers or something like that. So yeah, give me the Chiefs. I think it'll be close, and I think it's going to be low scoring, but give me the Chiefs.
Oh, Dylan, what was the weather report? It's not going to change my decision. I was just curious.
No, it's going to be.
It's Buffalo, dude. It's probably snowing.
52 degrees, mostly cloudy. Huh. Week 15 versus the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. To Kansas City will lose.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Bengals 4-6 at Chargers 6-3 on Sunday Night Football. Khalil Mack is questionable with a groin injury. Trey Hendrickson is questionable. And T. Higgins is expected to return from his quad injury. I must talk about this. I doubt either one of you guys saw this, but Higgins Hill Watch. Okay.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay,
so I didn't see it.
The Bengals have this weird like setup in their practice field where it's like across their headquarters is like across the street from their practice field. So they have to make like a little bit of a walk to the practice field, and on that walk, there's like a grassy hill that you have to go up to the actual playing field. And this season, the way T. Higgins approaches the hill tells you how it's going to go during the game, whether he's going to play or not. So these are examples here, okay? This is bad radio, so I really apologize, folks. It's better on Twitter with the videos. On September 12th, this is from Andrew Cooper on Twitter, by the way, at Coop A Fiasco. On September 12th, 2024, T. Higgins approached the hill gingerly at an angle and was clearly favoring his hamstring. He did not play that week. On September 19th, 2024, T. Higgins attacked the hill vertically at its highest point. He was able to suit up that week. November 23rd, 2023, T. Higgins attempted to attack the hill, but was clearly not pleased with his performance. Head down, hands in his pockets. Higgins would not play that week. In an unrelated video, Jamar Chase completely avoided the hill because he was holding out and did not want to risk battling with the hill.
So that hill will tell you a lot.
Which brings us to this week. T. Higgins hits the practice hill with a strong stride and full pads in the rain. And Andrew Cooper says that kind of hill performance in those conditions tells me he's going to play this week. Shout out to Andrew Cooper for a hilarious thread. I was like, this is true journalism right here.
Wait, you said hilarious?
Hilarious from Andrew Cooper.
Dude, by the way, dude, at Coop A Fiasco is the best tag ever, bro. Good job.
Yeah, so T. Higgins expected to return here. Honestly, this low-key is, I think, other than the Chiefs-Bills, I think this is... Actually, Ravens-Steelers is probably up there too, but this is like a top 3 game for me this week. I think this is going to be super entertaining. I'm glad it's on Sunday Night Football. How do we feel that this is going to go? This is a must-win for Cincinnati. I really do believe that. It's not like, I'm not saying that they should win or anything like that. I doubt they're favored. I think the Chargers are probably favored. I think that the Bengals need to find a way to win this game if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. I don't know if they're going to, but I want to hear what you guys have to say because I haven't decided who I think is going to win this game yet.
I think
you want me to go first, Kai?
No, I have my answer. I mean, unless you want to go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm picking the Chargers.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think that they have a little bit more momentum right now. It's not Joe Burrow that's losing these games for the Bengals either. It's their defense, and as Dylan alluded to earlier, he thinks that Justin Herbert's going to have a fine week. I agree with him. Chargers are just so well head coached right now too. I mean, the things that Jim Harbaugh has done for this team this season, I just love everything that I've seen. And I just think they're such a solid team, and I think they can win this one against the Bengals.
Yeah, man, I feel the same way. I think the Chargers win this game, and it's going to come down to defense and whether or not Justin Herbert can keep up offensively, which I definitely think he can. The coaching... Like the coaching comparison here, it's not really comparable. I don't like Zach Taylor as a head coach. I think he has some bonehead moments, and he's not a Harbaugh. So give it to the Harbaugh here. At the time of kickoff, it would be 61 degrees and clear skies, although that is indoors. But don't they have a retractable?
It's not retractable, but it's indoors, but the stadium is like so open that it almost feels like outdoors. So I honestly, weather is a factor in SoFi. Not as much as an outdoor stadium, but it's more of a factor than it would be an Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
I'll go Chargers too. It's just because I think the Bengals defense is just so stinky, and Trey Hendrickson might not play. I think Justin Herbert probably has a pretty solid game. I think one of Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins is going to have a good game. I just don't know which one they're going to use. I'm with you, Dylan. I think the coaching mismatch is so apparent. Harbaugh is just such a better coach than Zach Taylor is. But the thing that gives me pause is that Joe Burrow is putting up like MVP caliber numbers right now. Like he's balling out, and he gets T. Higgins back. Like Kai said, he expects Chase Brown to have a really good game this week too. Like I think the Bengals offense is going to be humming. I just think that the Bengals defense is probably going to give up too many big plays to the Chargers, and I don't know if Burrow is going to be able to keep up. Unfortunately, I'm rooting for Cincinnati, but I'll give it to LA. I think the Chargers win at home.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, the Chargers are still a top 10 passing defense too. So I mean, this is still going to be a tough going for Joe Burrow and company.
Can we also just recognize that maybe this franchise has shown that you can pick 2 offensive tackles within 3 years and protect your quarterback, because Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater is the best tackle combination in the NFL, and it has shown that those 2 guys take over every game that they're in. And if you're going to be down your best pass rusher, dude, you're not going to get to Justin Herbert. You're just not going to get to Justin Herbert. Those 2 guys are the 2 best tackles in the NFL, and you're just not going to do it. Not off the edge.
All right. We're all on the Chargers. Last but not least, Monday Night Football. Texans 6-4 at Cowboys 3-6.
Texas.
Nico Collins is officially off the injury report and will make his return. So congratulations to Nico Collins owners. We've been waiting for that. Kamari Lassiter did not practice on Thursday or Friday with a concussion, so his status is up in the air. Will Anderson Jr. has been labeled as out. Deron Bland is still out. And CeeDee Lamb was literally just added to the injury report like 25 minutes ago while we were doing this podcast with a back injury and is questionable for Monday Night Football. Mike McCarthy says he does not have a lot of concern. He does think that he'll go, but I do not trust that dude at all. So if you have CeeDee Lamb and you want to play him, have somebody behind him that you can put into the lineup just in case.
I would almost argue that you could even sit CeeDee Lamb this week and not feel bad about it just because of how bad the Cowboys have been with Cooper Rush. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah, it sounds crazy. You're like, oh, I'm not going to bench CeeDee Lamb. But, you know, with this new report now, it's almost like kind of gives you that justification to do it.
It's case by case. It depends on who you have. I don't fully agree with you on that because CeeDee Lamb is just too good. The sun will not be in his face in this time. It's Monday Night Football. I know Cooper Rush looked fucking horrible, but CeeDee Lamb is still one of the best players in football. I would be so nervous about sitting him. It just depends on who your backup is and who else you have on your team. Like if you have like a really strong wide receiver core and you can put 3 strong wide receivers in to your lineup, then yeah, go ahead. But if it's like CeeDee Lamb or fucking, I don't know, Andre Yoshivas or something like that, no, dude, you can't. You have to take the risk and play CeeDee Lamb. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't care if he has 6 catches for 20 yards again. You got to take the chance, honestly.
With that being said, I know the Texans have some key injuries here, like Will Anderson Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. Those are 2 big losses to their defense if they don't play, but they're still dealing with Cooper Rush. So, I mean, I don't think the threat is all too apparent for the Houston Texans defense here. They're getting Nico Collins back, so they're getting part of the gang back together on offense. I kind of expect CJ Stroud to look pretty good in this game, a little bit of a correction. So give me the Texans to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect all of us to pick the Texans, right? I'm picking Houston, too. I don't think the Cowboys have a chance in hell whether CeeDee Lamb plays or not.
There is no weather report for this game. It is indoors, but I do have one question about the weather this week going into this game. Where's the moon?
Well, we know that a year out, so we should know that. It's probably pretty easy to find on the internet.
Yeah.
But I just want to know where the moon is for this game. It depends on where the moon is. I'm going to take the Texans. Nico Collins is going to eat.
Oh, yeah. Nico Collins is going to have a very successful return.
Joe Mixon is going to eat. CJ Stroud is going to eat.
We're not playing Jake Ferguson. Are you playing Rico Dowdle? I think he's playable, but I'm not feeling good about it. They already said that that's no longer a running back by committee, and Rico Dowdle is the lead back rest of season. So that makes me feel good about that. But the Cowboys' offense is just so stagnant, and Houston's a pretty solid defense that it would make me feel nervous.
If you're that desperate, then give it a shot. But man,
yeah, I'm not dying to play him, but he is playable.
I don't think it's a desperation move to start Rico Dowdle, but don't be surprised when the Cowboys said that he's the RB1 and Ezekiel Elliott gets 12 touches.
Yeah, I think Ezekiel Elliott has not played himself out of that role, but has been just such a nuisance to deal with off the field this year that I think that Mike McCarthy is fed up with him. So I think if anything, maybe Dalvin Cook would be the person taking carries from him, which wouldn't shock me. But yeah, I think Zeke is damn near done. Also, they tried to give him the ball last week and he like fumbled immediately, didn't he, Zeke?
Yeah.
So I think he's toast. I don't think they're going to use him much more the rest of the season.
Definitely, dude. And like I said, Nico Collins is you smash him into your lineup, and the upside is 2 touchdowns for me. Like if the Texans are going to blow this game open, it's going to be through Nico Collins. Everyone else on the Texans has kind of shown that they're lackluster in the passing game. So look for CJ Stroud and Nico Collins to link back up.
All right. That's all for us. As always, you can find us at Raging Takes on Facebook and TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. You can email us ragingtakes@gmail.com. I'm at Montana Sauce on Twitter. Kai is at RTP Kai, and Dylan is at Such a Wise Fool. We'll see you on Tuesday. Goodbye.